I know some of Rudy's background, and the part I always remember is that his father was a tailor for some Hollywood stars, including Orson Welles. His father was obviously a very talented man, and I think a man who was very proud of his Mexican heritage and history. And I think Rudy very much took that to heart and took that as part of his kind of impetus to always strive for claiming the heritage and pride for Mexican people in the U.S.
His background is a no excuses kind of person. You know, he doesn't believe in making up excuses. You know, he always challenged us as graduate students and undergraduate students to say, you know, hey, I did it in tougher conditions, and if you can, you should be able to do it now.
I always thought he was a very good speaker, a very dynamic personality, very full of conviction.
Rudy is driven by a very strong passion for social justice.
I think truth drives him, a search for truth.
His scholarship from beginning to end has always been driven by his passion to liberate across many dimensions. Even early on, he spoke to the issue of gay rights. And it was at a time, I think, when we really needed to have that said by a male professor on our campus.
Yeah, Rudy has always believed, and he's always shown us this, that when people give you an opportunity, you have to take advantage of it. When they created Chicano Studies back in the late 1960s, early 70s at Northridge, you know, they were told to put together a curriculum for 1 or 2 courses in Chicano Studies. Rudy, in the same amount of time that they told him to do 1 or 2 courses, he put together curriculums for 40 classes.
He is, I think, one of the premier, if not the premier, Chicano historian and professor.
He is a public intellectual. You know, he takes complex theory and conversation and discussion and popularizes it in a way that people could understand. And the really thing that I think is really interesting is he breaks down a lot of this work through storytelling. He's a great storyteller. He
has done textbooks for high school students. He has written in the newspaper. He did editorials.
He's taught at the Sorbonne. He's lectured at Notre Dame. He's gone around the world and been a guest lecturer.
He has spoken out in numerous kinds of areas where people, you know, need someone who has some sort of national standing and recognition to speak for them.
He set the bar so high, not just in terms of what you're supposed to do in the academic world, but more importantly about what you're supposed to take into the community. You know, Rudy doesn't believe in the whole concept of the ivory tower. As a matter of fact, I think he's historically tried to break that down and destroy the tower and build like a pyramid in its placement. A pyramid that's filled with people of color getting access to the institutions to be able to transform society.
He takes maybe what seems like a personal problem and he makes it a social issue and helps think of ways to solve it that will benefit many. The biggest example is the UC Santa Barbara and UC Santa Barbara lawsuit.
He fought a fight that most folks thought, well, most attorneys told him he couldn't win.
And he was fighting what he felt was an unfair decision. He was not hired.
When they're telling you that you're not qualified to teach in Chicano Studies, a field that basically you created, I mean, that's a very personal challenge, but he didn't fight that way. He fought it from a community perspective.
He was instrumental on the legal end as far as workhorse. He came in and reviewed documents and came up with synopsis of enormous amount of material that we had to review. And he was as good as an attorney on the case.
And then when he won, he turns around and starts a foundation to give all that money right back.
He has continued publishing, continued his activism through other avenues, continued with establishing the For Chicano Studies Foundation, and also continued what's close to his heart is inspiring students. And so even though he has retired from a full-time position at Cal State Northridge, he continues to teach part-time and says he can't leave because he just can't leave his students who he loves.